WandaVision episode 8 recap. Spoilers right here. So let's do it. First things first, right off the bat. What did this episode reveal to us? Because again, it did answer things. It actually answered more than last week, if you think about it. And then at the same time, you're still wondering. Actually, it kind of answered a lot. Mostly, a lot of what you needed to know or wanted to know, right? Right off the bat, how did this all happen? We get to see. It really was a moment of grief. Wanda just had an outburst of grief, and her powers just manifested into this thing, and it created the entire reality we've known as Westview this whole time, including recreating anything inside. Big thing that they revealed is that she didn't actually take Vision's body, right? She actually just created a new Vision inside of her new reality, just straight from her powers, projected a new manifestation of Vision. So that was big. My question, though, is then why was Sword tracking this Vision in the Hex if they still have the body of the other Vision? Could it have been simply just because they were wondering how the hell could there be another Vision? Because I know that they were stressing that they did not want a sentient being like Vision to exist and be in the control of anyone for the wrong reasons or whatever spiel Sword is preaching about with why they had Vision's body in the first place. Could be that they were tracking this Vision because they thought it was another Vision and they were confused. They didn't know how there could possibly be another Vision, and so that's why they were tracking this Vision, while at the same time working on their scheme with the body they have recovered, right? So they have Vision's body, and they, with a little bit of harnessing of Wanda's chaos magic, as they have revealed it to be, harnessing a little bit of that, they have recreated a version of Vision. If you didn't watch the post-credit scene that showed that, you should. Last week and this week now have had post-credit scenes. And it makes sense that last week and this week are the only episodes with post-credit scenes because they were the only episodes in the modern day so far. No reason to put post-credit scenes in episodes that were based in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s because there was no such thing as post-credit scenes in those eras. So it makes sense that in the two modern era episodes, we have post-credit scenes. And the last one was interesting. With Pietro sneaking up on Monica and then cutting to black, not knowing what's going to go on there. This week we got to see that Sword is making their own Vision. And that's some freaky shit going on there. But what else did we learn? We learned a little more about Agatha Harkness, right? Agatha Harkness was a witch back in the Salem witch trials days. And she was apparently too powerful for her own good. More powerful than any other witch. And that is why she was excommunicated in a way. Didn't go as planned. Her excommunication. It's not even an excommunication, if that is a word. It was a full-on execution. They were trying to kill her because she was too dangerous, too powerful, and it backfired. And she killed all of them, right, including her mother, I guess. And her power, this power that she has, it now, the big thing about this episode, besides it being like literally like a therapeutical analysis of Wanda's life and past and trauma and all of it, and her kind of working through it with Agatha kind of as like a therapist for her, it was also a good episode for highlighting what exactly Agatha's motives are. So why is she even so obsessed with Wanda, and why even be a villain? Why be approaching Wanda the way she is, right? It's because she's basically this witch who's been training for, I guess, hundreds or maybe longer, hundreds of years, centuries. She's been training with magic, right? And this magic, by the way, is super in the same line as what Doctor Strange does. So, magic exists in this universe. We've known that since Doctor Strange was introduced to us. That is magic. That was the introduction of magic, and it's been around for a long time. So this is nothing new. So she is. I don't exactly know what kind of branch of magic, what kind of organization of magic she was involved in. Um, but it is that same realm. It's magic, like Doctor Strange showed us. Um, and basically, she's a witch who's been training in magic, and a powerful witch who's been getting more and more powerful, but over very, very many years. So to see Wanda, this witch who doesn't even know she's a witch, this rookie, this newbie, this youngling, if you will, who is super powerful, either as powerful as Agatha or more powerful than Agatha, to see her just do this with no training at all, it boggles Agatha's mind, and she wants to know how and why. And we find out that the big thing was that Scarlet Witch, her nickname, her codename, her superhero name, is officially given to her in this episode. Agatha calls her the Scarlet Witch. And apparently the Scarlet Witch is a moniker given to a particular being in universal history. This being of immense magical power. The wielder of chaos magic, as she calls it. And apparently there's only one or a few of these people that can do this. I mean, I think just one. The Scarlet Witch is capable of this, and that is who Wanda is. She's the Scarlet Witch. But the biggest thing that happened this week, besides that big name drop, the whole Scarlet Witch thing, because you have to understand this is all going to tie in some way to the multiverse. Wanda is a Nexus being. What a Nexus being is a little more complicated to break down, but not. Maybe I won't even get into it entirely. But a Nexus being is kind of like beings in different realities or dimensions that are kind of like the cornerstones of the multiverse. They have the ability to manipulate and alter reality and play with the multiverse. It's even possible the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, is a Nexus being. We don't know yet. One of the new villains coming is a potential Nexus being, and it's Kang the Conqueror, who might be the next Thanos-level villain in this saga, is a potential Nexus being. So basically, just these super powerful beings. There's no doubt in my mind anymore either that Wanda is the most powerful of all her fellow Avengers. Captain Marvel is definitely super powerful, but no, Wanda is apparently the Scarlet Witch is like a being so powerful that it's kind of like in X-Men when Jean Grey, the Dark Phoenix, was like revealed to be this super all-powerful being, more powerful than anybody else in existence kind of thing, like that kind of level being, like super, and if not controlled, if she can't control her power, Wanda, she's unstable and dangerous to others, as we've seen here. The big thing I was wondering was, why did she see like in her vision, she's the whole yellow vision, like when she got her powers, which I'll get into in a second with that, but we see very important flashbacks in this episode, big flashbacks, that things that we've been told about Wanda in previous movies but have not seen. Now we have seen these moments, and there's a moment where she has this vision when the Mind Stone gives her her powers, that she sees like a silhouette of the Scarlet Witch. So I'm curious if clearly someone else has been possibly the Scarlet Witch before her, or it's a being that is of lore, of legend and lore to beings like Agatha and possibly never existed before but now exists. That is still to be clarified, right? I'm curious about what that was, and I'm sure we'll get answers soon, but the multiverse is still a huge part of this. I think Pietro could still potentially even be Pietro from the X-Men movies, but under Agatha's control, was completely unaware of who he was in these moments. That's why I'm wondering if Vision were to do his mind thing, right, to Pietro, would it bring us Pete from the X-Men movies? Because that's what he went by in the X-Men. He wasn't Pietro. He was Peter. He was Pete, right? What if he's just like all of a sudden, like that is like I'm still curious about Pietro. Obviously, we all are. We'll see if that gets answered in more depth. Because if it's just a fake out, it might that won't sit well with a lot of people. Won't sit well with me if it's just a fake out. They have to give us some hint that there is the possibility of things like this happening, where other beings from other realities can pop in. They have to make that somewhat clear that it's still possible. Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about with this episode, the big thing that I personally was like, because we go through all these moments in Wanda's past, and they're key moments that we've heard about, right? But in these moments, seeing them, we learn new things about those moments that we didn't before. So there's kind of like a super effective moment where, because we've heard the story about how Wanda's parents were killed. She told it to Ultron in Age of Ultron. Her and Pietro, they talk about how their parents died. A Stark missile dropped in, or a Stark missile took them out first, and then another missile came in and sat there. And they waited they were worried, they didn't know if it was going to go off, and it never did. They assumed it was a misfire, right? But this episode shows us that actually Wanda was potentially the reason it didn't go off. And that is huge because it means this, basically. Wanda Maximoff was born with powers. She was not actually given her powers by an Infinity Stone. She was born with witch-like magical powers that she did not tap into at all. And that if she didn't learn to start using, would have faded away over time, right? When she then was experimented on with the Mind Stone, what the Mind Stone did was basically enhance those powers to an extreme level. A merging of her already dormant powers, and then the Mind Stone made her into the Scarlet Witch, this extremely powerful being, an awakened chaos magic within her. If she wasn't experimented on with the Mind Stone, that would not have happened. So that is huge for her origins. It even potentially sets up mutants in this. I don't want to pretend like that's definitely. I'm just predicting that it's possible that Wanda and Pietro were potential mutants. Maybe the first. Maybe not. But here's the thing. Wanda was not the only one to survive those experiments with the Mind Stone. Her brother, Pietro, did as well. He was the only other person. He got powers from it too. So did he already have some kind of powers? Was there a mutation within him that needed to be unlocked by the Infinity Stone? That's what I'm thinking. There's a potential that these powers they had were already there because it was a genetic thing. Mutants. And the Infinity Stone awakened their powers. Just food for thought. Wouldn't that be crazy? That was the biggest thing, though. That's huge for her origin. That is huge for their origins. Because it changed everything we thought we knew about how they got their powers. So what an amazing episode of WandaVision. And sets up a huge finale next week. Agatha has Tommy and Billy literally by the neck. And it's a standoff. It's a showdown. Can't wait for next week. Episode 9. Definitely get ready because it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.